if you're in the United States, or Florida in particular, you're probably aware of Hurricane Ian. And of course, it's not exactly the most threatening name for a hurricane, and especially for a particularly severe one.
Yeah, they probably should have called it Satan or something.
Hurricane Pol Pot.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Hurricane Stalin. I'd be miles away, like fleeing Stalin. But no, Ian, it doesn't sound particularly threatening, but there we go. But yes, 10 deaths have been confirmed so far, and there's no doubt that there will be more as the hurricane continues. It's been through Florida now, and it's on its way to South and North Carolina, at least at the time of recording this live. There is currently no figure calculated for how many people are missing, because of course the hurricane is still going on. And apparently at the minute there are 2.5 million Floridians without electricity, and it hit both Cuba and Puerto Rico before it got to the United States, and Cuba completely lost electricity in the entire country when the hurricane went over. Apparently it's a Category 4 hurricane and has been reported as having a max wind speed of 555 miles per hour. I feel like a meteorologist saying all this stuff. Don't worry, there will be political stuff. I'm talking about this for a reason. And apparently it's one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the United States, although, it's not done yet. So here's the live tracker at the minute, which is 25 minutes past 1 British summertime. It's coming up to just to the east of Charleston in South Carolina. So if you're there, please watch out, be prepared. I'm sure you already are, you know what you're doing. But that's where it's going, and you can live track it. And if you have a look further down, John, you can see that the colour of the line indicates how severe it was. So down when it was getting towards Florida, near Cape Coral, it was at its worst, and as it went across the peninsula, it kind of petered out, and it's gaining severity again as it's coming up to Carolina. So let's have a little bit of a look at some of the footage that I've been able to find.
Just to correct something real quick, in the chat I've seen 155 miles per hour, not 500.
Did I say 500?
I was going like...
No, 155, sorry. Apparently I can't read. So here is the eye of the storm moving over. You can see it's eerily quiet, but it looks pretty ominous.
That's pretty cool, to be honest.
It is quite cool looking, isn't it? But it also looks kind of terrifying. And I wouldn't want to be there in, say, an hour's time. And then this next one, this is in Naples, Florida. The water was getting so high outside, so obviously some of it's leaked through. If you can play the video, John. Some of it's leaked through, but it burst through the doorways. I don't know whether the person recording that's okay. I would presume so. But it's getting pretty severe. In some places I heard it was up to 1.5 metres high. Here we have something a bit more wholesome. We've got some sandhill cranes trying to resist the hurricane. I didn't want to make it all depressing, so...
I'm sorry to laugh, but just her voice, which is like, no!
That is sad.
But I think that this is kind of the preamble. This isn't the main event. And something else that's quite wholesome here. There's a tweet that we should have, John. There we go. Of someone saving a cat from the floodwater. They've got some beachfront property, and the cat was hiding on what looked like an air conditioner. And look at the water surging through behind there. So if they hadn't have done that, the cat would probably be soaked at the very least. But yes, with the wholesome stuff out of the way, let's talk about some horrible stuff. So let's have a look at this next video, which is a 30-minute time lapse in Sanibel Island in Florida.
You missed it, but that kitty looked so happy at the end.
It was like giving him a hug, wasn't it? It was great.
So people listening, we're watching a time lapse. There's no audio.
So yes, at the minute, it's getting higher and higher to the point where the entire street is now covered in water. It just keeps on carrying on. And this is over the space of just half an hour. So it's pretty severe where it stops there. And it probably got much worse than that as well. So it could potentially be covering entire homes. So Apparently there is also preparation here. So this is 42,000 linemen. I don't know why there's audio. I don't know what the audio is about.
It's just getting hyped.
But this is lots of linemen to come and repair Florida's electricity in preparation. It's a massive fleet, which is nice to see actual preparation. I don't know whether this is DeSantis is doing or whether it was federal or what, but it seems like there's at least preparation this time to fix it. But now we know roughly what's going on so far. Let's talk a little bit about the left-wing reactions to it, which is the whole reason really that I'm covering this, other than obviously drawing attention to the human tragedy side of it. And here's one Twitter checkmark saying it costs approximately $1,200 for someone to evacuate a massive hurricane like Ian. So with the $12 million in taxpayer funds Governor DeSantis spent exploiting refugees, he could have covered those costs for 10,000 Floridians.
Yeah, I'd rather get rid of the refugees.
Mm-hmm.
Also, is that real? Like, why does it cost that much to evacuate? Does he mean like a day before the disaster? Or
I'm not entirely sure, but
how much is gas?
also if the refugees were there, surely that's more people to evacuate.
Also, how many Floridians is a refugee worth, Sawyer? What if a refugee had died? That might be worth 10,000 Floridians, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
well,
the left-wing calculus is not complete.
Shipping them to New York and other places now is a humanitarian policy at this point. So there we go.
Yeah.
But yes, the main focus here is upon it being used to justify the climate agenda. So here we have NPR, which is one of many outlets that tried to link a hurricane to climate change. Here it says, climate change makes storms like Ian more common. And then we have Vox. Hurricane Ian's rapid intensification is a sign of the world to come. And then we move on to Time. Yes, climate change is making storms like Hurricane Ian worse. And then we have the Washington Post. How climate change is rapidly fueling super hurricanes. Not even just regular hurricanes, but super hurricanes. Then we have CBS. How climate change is helping storms like Hurricane Ian intensify more rapidly. And then The Atlantic, for some reason, had a bit more nuance, but not quite. Honestly, the link between climate change and hurricanes is complicated. Not that it doesn't exist, just that it's complicated.
You wouldn't understand, bro.
Mm-hmm. And then this next one is just ridiculous. So this is ABC News. So it's titled, Study finds that climate change added 10% to Ian's rainfall. It's not done yet. The hurricane's still going. Like, also, what kind of research can you do in like a day or two and then publish it? Well, let's have a look at the
Fake
the article.
research?
Like
Josh, what if I just make up the numbers then? What, idiot?
when I did my psychology masters, which was covering research methodology, it took me like 6 months to do a study, not like a day or two. So
yeah, but if we just make everything up, it's faster.
yeah. So apparently, according to this article, climate change added at least 10% more rain to Hurricane Ian, a study prepared immediately after the storm shows. It's not over, by the way. Thursday's research, which is not peer-reviewed, worth drawing attention to that line, compared peak rainfall rates during the real storm to about 20 different computer scenarios of a model with Hurricane Ian's characteristics slamming into the Sunshine State in a world with no human-caused climate change. So it's a computer simulation, so it's entirely possible that the parameters, when they're trying to replicate things as complicated as, say, the entire climate and all of the factors that play into that, maybe they just put the numbers in wrong.
Yeah,
like, there's certainty on this 10% figure on a non-peer-reviewed study. I mean, it's clear that they've just rushed it out for clout to get their names out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm always bored with this kind of stuff where people are like, oh, specific numbers for climate predictions of anything, never mind like a day after. Because you can't even tell me the weather in a week.
I know. Yeah.
I ain't trusting this.
9 times out of 10, though, it's raining and they still manage to get it wrong, at least in Britain.
Yeah.
It's just a sign that the science is not quite there yet. But my favourite out of everything here is this final clip with Don Lemon getting shut down. So he's talking to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Hurricane Center head, which is quite a mouthful, and he brings up climate change. Let's hear what this actual expert has to say.
Can you tell us what this is and what effect climate change has on this phenomenon?
We can come back and talk about climate change at a later time. I want to focus on the here and now. We think the rapid intensification is probably almost done. There could be a little bit more intensification as it's still over the warm waters of the eastern Gulf of Mexico, but I don't think we're going to get any more rapid intensification. If you look here, you can actually see, pretty interesting for your viewers, you can actually see a second eye wall forming around the inner eye wall, and that's basically the second eye wall has overtaken the original eye wall, and that should arrest development.
So listen, I'm just trying to get that. You said you want to talk about climate change, but what effect does climate change have on this phenomenon that is happening now? Because it seems these storms are intensifying. That's the question here.
I don't think you can link climate change to any one event. Okay. On the whole, on the cumulative, climate change may be making storms worse, but to link it to any one event, I would caution against that.
Okay. Well, listen, I grew up there, and these storms are intensifying. Something is causing them to intensify.
I grew up there, therefore.
Yeah, well, look,
guy
emotional investment to spin this bollocks, all right? It's like, no, that's obviously just an offence because you just got shut down.
Yeah, my anecdotal evidence is worth way more than you, who've probably spent your life studying this phenomenon.
But he's so right, though. This is also another problem where you get. I mean, it's been mentioned before about the concept of global warming and people arguing about that. We have a guy go, snowing outside, no global warming, idiot. And then it'll be summer, and you'll get all these articles from left wingers being like, "Ooh, look, sun hot, global warming." It's like,
why the press Mexican all of a sudden?
I just thought they were cavemen, but okay. But it's just the ridiculous nature of like, oh, things happened. Oh, look, global warming. Tell me, need that. It's the same thing. Oh, look, hurricane, climate change. Yeah, look at this. Like a wood sets on fire. Oh, climate change. Yeah. Dude, just stop. Just stop for 5 minutes. You can't tell me, this pattern of behaviour is evidenced by a one event thing that's going on right now.
I know, it's so ridiculous,
so
isn't
painful.
it? But all of the mainstream media, particularly the left-wing press, all went for this narrative. They're all saying, yes, climate change this, climate change that. And the actual people who know what they're talking about are just like, well, no, you can have a conversation about that maybe, but, you can't link it to one weather event that's not even over yet as well. Like,
how does all of cooking affect this lemon? I'm like, what? Talking about?
So Fox News also picked up on the fact that the left-wing media was talking about this, and they did some really good work here. So I'm going to read from this article titled "Democrats Blaming Climate Change for Hurricane Ian at Odds with Science," experts say. And they reached out to their own experts. So multiple experts contacted by Fox News Digital argued that there is insufficient evidence to suggest climate change caused Hurricane Ian or any individual natural disaster. The experts' comments come as a series of media outlets, Democrats and progressive commentators continue to blame the hurricane on human-caused global warming. And I quote here, "What they're trying to do is politicise the pain and suffering of these people to promote their green agenda," Gregory Wrightstone, the executive director of the climate policy think tank CO2 Coalition, told Fox News Digital in an interview. So when that guy is just coming out and saying you're politicising other people's suffering, when he's working for a think tank that's talking about CO2, I mean, surely he would have a bit of an agenda to push here. But no, he's saying that these people are clearly, morally bankrupt, which is true. He carries on to say, well, their policies and their agenda to promote renewables will do far greater economic destruction to the country and Florida, he's saying, than the hurricane, which is incredibly based. I mean, I never thought these climate scientists and what have you would actually have it in them, but well done. So it carries on to say, over the last several days, media outlets, including the New York Times, Associated Press, Politico, NPR, Axios have published news stories reporting that climate change is to blame for Hurricane Ian and the storm's rapid intensification. A Time magazine article said, the science is well known that climate change created...
It is known.
When someone
sorry,
says...
but it is the meme. It's just like, the source, it is known. Trust us.
If anyone says that the science is out there, we've completely made up our minds, it's established, they don't know anything about science. I mean, I've worked in that world. Scientists will argue about the most, meaningless stuff just to be as exact as possible. So anyone claiming agreement just doesn't know scientists. They will argue over anything. So carrying on, it says, in addition, Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat for Minnesota, appeared to suggest that Americans need to vote for Democrats to avoid future hurricanes during an interview on Tuesday. So yes, Republicans, the party of hurricanes, apparently.
Vote blue will control the weather.
I wonder if there is a particular red state in Asia that does something like that. Not the Chinese.
Do you remember when Joe Biden was running? He said, "You vote for me if I get in, we'll cure cancer." And it was laughable.
Yeah.
But to be like, I will make it. I'll control the weather. I don't know. I'm gonna give up even trying to claim that I'm campaigning on anything real at this point.
If you vote Democrat, they'll stop hurricanes forever.
They'll cure cancer. They'll stop the hurricanes.
They'll stop you standing on plugs when they're overturned and hurting your foot. They can do it all.
Doesn't happen to Yankees because their
Does it
plugs
not?
are different.
Oh yeah, of course. Damn it.
Hey, they will make everyone a millionaire with inflation though. So
That's true. So it carries on to say, Representative Raja Krishna Moorthy, I butchered that, I did my best, Democrat for Illinois, tweeted on Thursday that the rapid storm intensification we're seeing with Hurricane Ian will become more common and more dangerous as the climate changes. I'm quoting directly here. Ian is a climate change hurricane. Pam Keith, a former Democratic Senate candidate and founder of left-wing firm Center for Employment Justice, tweeted on Wednesday. So yes, the Democrats are definitely pushing this as well. It's not just the media. And I quote again, Hurricane Ian is a textbook example of climate change impacting people. Nina Turner, a senior fellow at progressive think tank Institute on Race, Power and Political Economy, added also that climate change isn't political, it's reality. Which is madness.
yeah, you're also a race witch doctor, so I don't think your advice on anything.
I thought you were just going to call her a race witch, which is quite funny.
Well, yeah, that too. I make you black. I make you white. What did you do? You voted for Trump.
So, carrying on, it says, however, Wrightstone and the other experts contacted by Fox News Digital rejected those arguments, arguing that individual storms cannot be linked to climate change. And I quote here, if you read what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, says on hurricanes, there is just not enough data. Steve Milloy, a senior legal fellow at the Energy and Environment Legal Institute, told Fox News Digital. There's nothing to back up what they're saying, he continued. There were about 16 major hurricanes between 1916 and 1965, but only 6 since 1965. So clearly major hurricanes happen with lower levels of carbon dioxide. That doesn't add up for them. So he's saying it's actually the other way around. So there we go. So it's also worth mentioning that, I'm not against caring about the environment, and neither is Harry. Here he has a video, how to be a conservative environmentalist. And it basically means just not buying into the climate death cult and just making the world around you, your local area, more beautiful.
You won't control the weather by voting red. Wrong enough.
We'll just make things look nicer. We won't try and stop hurricanes by pumping weird stuff into the atmosphere. So yes, there's also another ridiculous take, and that is that hurricanes are racist. Of course, the race crowd have to get in on this, and it's titled, Hurricanes Disproportionately Harm Black Neighborhoods. It's because of environmental racism. Yes, hurricanes, they're just racist.
Gaia herself has
see-
come upon the earth to say the N-word.
Did you see footage of Hurricane Ian? It was wearing this white robe. It had this pointy hat on.
Yeah, with the satellite imagery. Yeah, very white. Little eye poking through the middle.
But yes, it is arguing, I'm going to read a little bit from it, but not all of it, as Hurricane Ian touches down in Florida. Remember who suffers the most. The destruction from hurricanes is never equally distributed. Well, yes, because it happens in the south more, and funnily enough, there are more people of colour in the south. I mean, it's, there's this historic thing called slavery, where it meant that the freed slaves all just stayed where they
Can't reason with
used to.
stupid, mate. You can try, but it's like saying, the sun is racist because it shines more on Arabs. It's like, what do you
They're more
want?
likely to get skin cancer.
Yeah.
The sun hates them. So it says there is an extra element of fear for black folks during hurricane season. Even though hurricanes don't specifically target black communities, their lasting impact always seems to affect black people the most. I mean, how...
I thought they did target them. I thought the hurricane was like, it's a Jewish neighborhood, I'll leave that alone. I'll go to the black neighborhood.
So yes, apparently when Hurricane Harvey flooded Texas in 2017, the southwest Houston neighborhood that suffered the worst flood damage was 49% non-white. It's just like, yes,
Okay.
Racism. It must be. If the weather
itself
targets them.
is rising against the black race.
It carries on basically to argue that so-called African Americans are largely in poorer neighborhoods that are less equipped to deal with hurricane damage. But then, I mean, just focusing in on these sorts of people, I mean, look at Florida. You had lots of expensive yachts being damaged. You had these lovely beachfront properties. I mean, surely that's a larger impact on one family. Their lovely house being destroyed, their yacht crashing into their house to destroy it. I mean, I saw
least
them
I've got things to
sailing down.
lose.
Yeah. But yes, obviously.
That is a Cole Pilkington argument, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I can't remember, I think it's Bruce Wayne or whatever goes on these environmental marches. Yeah, well, he's got 3 homes. Whereas for me, just end it.
But I'm not trying to make light of people suffering, obviously. I don't want anyone to have a bad time with the hurricane, and I hope everyone watching is safe and sound, as well as the people out in the thick of it. But calling it a climate change problem or calling it a climate-linked hurricane is just ridiculous. And yeah, obviously, there's no evidence for people doing this.
If only you had voted blue, then there would be no hurricane. Yeah, I believe that. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, the most recent episode on human consciousness. If you want to find out what else Josh is putting out, you can follow him on Getter at Josh_firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.